had battery-powered vehicles for a long time, but they've never been practical. Then Tesla really started the charge, if you pardon the expression, towards fashionable and performance and practicality with reasonable range for electric vehicles. But is being sexy good enough for a long-term relationship? We've been testing the Tesla Model 3 to find out. There's been electric vehicles for at least 130 years. In fact, the first recorded land speed records were set by battery-powered cars. The reason is they didn't have to travel very far. You had to build up a bit of momentum, then record your speed over 1 mile. But to make them practical has been a task we haven't really achieved until recently. Tesla, with its use of digital technology, which made some great fashion statements for their vehicles, with the electric power, which made for some great performance, acceleration in particular, has made the electric vehicle a much more trendy type of mobility. You know, you've got to love Sydney. We're about 5k from the city centre, and we can find wonderful bushland with the birds singing and chirping away. And we're in a car that doesn't produce local pollution. It's a Tesla Model 3. Now, like most Teslas, in fact all Teslas, they are unusual in their approach in many ways. Some may even say quirky. Now this one, it has some features that still remain a little annoying, but once you get used to it, like most cars, you can enjoy it for what it really is, and I think there's great enjoyment in that. Your initial reaction to a Tesla can be a little unsettling. Well, the big difference is, of course, there is a screen, there is nothing on the dashboard in front of you. In a number of ways, it's quite traditional. We have our indicator stalk here, which we can turn on and off. The seats are adjustable electronically in a typical normal fashion. We do have a couple of controls on the steering wheel, but they're not labelled. The reason they're not labelled is they can do a number of functions. This one, as it is now, we'll just adjust the sound on the radio, which is fine. This other one, actually, I can use to call up if I want to. So in that regard, it's not unusual. But where it is unusual is now everything else comes from the screen. Now the screen is big, and I think the graphics of it are quite distinct and easy to read. They're not graphic design gone crazy, and they use symbols and things that, while some I need to get used to, this little button here actually means getting the reversing cameras online and on the side, but most of them I don't understand that. Perhaps that's meant to look like a camera on the back of an iPhone. Anyway, whatever. Most of them are distinctive. The fan actually brings up all the controls, which even I can adjust where I want the things to be. So it is clever in that regard. The clarity, I think, quite good. I can go into the car and I can change things and make most use of it. But here is where the controls can be adapted. The interface between a computer program and the operator is critical. Modern graphics have helped enormously, but sometimes they go over the top with colour and movement that can make it confusing. I personally hate Adobe products. Their video editing program is well respected, but you must learn their way of operating it. Those who use it every day swear by it. Those of us who use it occasionally swear at it. Infrequent use means that it remains an illogical system abounding in jargon. Now, Tesla's graphic interface is pretty good. Simple, clear, not cramped because of the big screen, and good descriptions of what you have to do. Only occasionally do you get a symbol or function that takes a bit of working out. if I want to adjust the steering wheel, there's nothing here, there's no electronics here, I press this one. And so now the left-hand control is becoming for the steering wheel, up and down or in and out. You see, we've just cut and gone into it. I've had the car a day and I suddenly forgot which one it was to bring up the adjustment for the steering column. Once you've had it for a little while, well, of course, you tend to get used to it. So I press the steering wheel and immediately it gives me a very clear graphic of what this control has now become, where I can move the steering up and down, or if I nudge it sideways, either way, it will take it in or out or in, to get that correct. So you can see that this is how you have to use the screen differently than what you might have from any other car. I mentioned adjusting the steering wheel or the mirrors, and it should have been in quick controls. I had to think about that, but there are the other ones, as you would expect, lights, auto high beam and so on. Who has access to it, whether it's via my phone or other people's phones? The display that you can do there, and I can do it brightness or not, up and down as you would expect driving. Chill, that means it doesn't accelerate quite as hard. Standard is still very, very fast. Steering mode, comfort standard or sport can make it heavy, and there are other functions that are easy to do. I can go into autopilot, certain conditions that are got there. Navigation is not quite as easy. It took me a little while to understand that. I actually have to press that up there, whatever that is, just a general point, and go into navigation if I wanted to enter a street. Once I'm there, I'm okay. Once I know about it, I'm okay, but otherwise it just did take me a little longer. Navigation, safety and security, service. It'll even tell me certain things that may need to be done. And like most computer-based systems, it can tell me what version of the software I've got. But to give you an example of why you have to look to the screen to do things, this is the only way to open the glove box. Now, those are the main functions. There are also other functions which can tell me things like how long I've got to go. I've got 330 kilometers left under normal driving. I can, if I go back, get out of that, I go back into this, I can show how I've been using energy over time. It's interesting. Now look, the projected range is 316. That's based on average driving. Based on what I've just done, which was to feel the acceleration, the range comes down significantly to 239 kilometers. Again, I'll go back into that and bring up the calendar, a whole range. I can even go into the web. Now, here's the silly things that it has in there. If I go up into here, I have my toy box, which allows me to sit in the car and have the fire crackling away in the background. That's not bad. I can sketch pad if I want to. I have no idea why I'd want to do that. I can record sounds, but I don't think I can record my own voice. I'm not sure about that. I can take it so the back down screen is Mars. I can take Santa so that when I put things, the blinkers on, it goes ho ho ho. I don't need that. And I can make the schematic representation, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I can make that like a rainbow. Again, I don't need it, but the ultimate in silliness is that I can now press the button and get a fart sound on demand. I can even have it so that whenever I turn the signal on, I'm sorry, I'm just going to turn that off. That is just super offensive. I don't like it all. Why? I told some people they were appalled to think that some time and energy has been spent in producing that. Some people laugh. It's a sort of schoolboy witticism, but that's about it. The only thing then is, those are some of the clever things. But let's go back to one basic thing which shows the limitation of the screen. if I want to change the windscreen wipers, I don't have a control. I have to do 2 steps. I have to press this button and bring this up and press that to get the windscreen wipers. Now it can be automatic or it can be slow, or I can turn it off, of course, or turn it on, and various speeds. But the thing I don't like about it, I have to do 2 steps and I have to take my eyes off the road to do it. I haven't worked out if there's any other way, I just don't know, but that seems to me to be the only opportunity. I'm going to go for a drive now and we'll see just how good this technology is. So what are the features that help the day-to-day driving? Well, it's easy to get into and out of parking spaces with good around-the-car cameras. Although one of ours didn't work when we first picked the car up, but it was quickly fixed. Charging is straightforward, but you need this special Tesla charging system and cable. When you have the key and you've set yourself up as a user on your phone, you don't have to touch anything to lock it, unlock it, or even start it. The relative simplicity of the electric car system leaves room for a small storage area at the front and some good space at the back. Electric cars don't have nearly as many complicated moving parts as an internal combustion engine, which means simpler service activities. The service centre is quite sparse compared to what we are used to. Okay, to start the car, I simply knock it into gear. I don't turn anything on or off. And the thing I love about electric vehicles is the quietness. There's no roar and no engine. It's fairly light steering, but I have a choice and I can make that heavier if I wish. And it just smoothly picks up speed. It's like a cruiser, like a yacht cruiser, where the engine is secluded away and you don't have any great sound effect. But as I note to the cameraman to brace yourself, because we're about to accelerate. Oh, that is just, that's unbelievable. The amount of power in that. And this is the long range one, not the sportiest one. So it is easy to drive, and when you're out on the highway, you can just use that power effortlessly. You don't get a roar of an engine, you don't get any sense of strain. And the thing, we've been through this intense wet period. I have never lost traction on the wheels for all the power. It is one that just grips beautifully and securely. This is a car that I feel very comfortable in. Now, the other thing we talked about and showed was how the car can identify things around it. When I first got into a Tesla some years ago, I noticed that it did have something in front of the driver, but the distance for cruise control showed the car ahead of you. Now, that might seem simple in a modern term, but I'll say this, it gave me great confidence. It gave me confidence that the car was identifying things around it. Now, we will get to autonomous driving, maybe not everywhere, but certainly on motorways, where the car will pretty well be able to do it. This has what it calls autopilot. People have said do not use that word. It is not an autopilot. It is an assistance package at the moment. Tesla says, it'll be autopilot in the foreseeable future. But point being, if you are to trust that, you need to know that the car has the technology to be able to detect things around it. Now, do you trust it as a black box that's everything hidden? This screen helps you understand that it is seeing things. Now, maybe if it doesn't quite see them as clearly as it might now, maybe that removes a little bit of the confidence. But the fact remains that I have a greater understanding of what the car is doing rather than trusting it on faith. And I think that's one of its greatest features as we move forward with new technology. And you'll notice that we're on line marking, it starts to get clearer. Starts to it picks up the headlights and the traffic lights, picks up some pedestrians there on the left. Not greatly, but it's nonetheless, it's showing some of that. The interesting thing is, look how far advanced that bike rider is, yet he's picking him up. 60k zone, pedestrian, picked up that. A runner. It's got markings on the road, it's picking those up. It's picking up some cars, but not very many and not very clearly in doing that. Now, just keep rolling and we'll come up to the street and it should show a pedestrian walking, which is good. And now we start showing the stop signs, showing the centre. But again, it's not picking up the cars on the side of the road here as much as it should. And I think it's just like it's not in a street system. But as soon as we get up to this double line marking here, it should pick it up, and now it's like it's back on a street system. And as soon as we run out of that, it's like it's... See, now it didn't pick up that car. Isn't that interesting? It's getting an occasional car there. And so now it's starting to pick them up. Maybe because it's picking the right-hand curb and gutter as like a line marking. So, do you want to live with a Tesla Model 3 for an extended period of time? Well, it has some quirky features, the motoring equivalent of your partner squeezing the toothpaste from the wrong end, but you can get used to those and learn its quirks. It has a number of quirky features that really go over the top and can become a little tiring, such as the farting sound, of which you would want to ignore as soon as you possibly can. But there's no question that it does have fantastic performance. I don't want to take that metaphor too far. But it is a vehicle that you can be proud of. It turns heads, and when you live with it and get used to it, it's a really enjoyable vehicle.